Okay. And
when we're live.
I wonder what happens when you say you don't got it, and does it like record you as empty? I don't know.
I don't think it admits you. I think it like cold hearted.
Kicks you out.
Like no.
Okay. Interesting. I'm always curious about that.
Okay, we're gonna share on my page. You could try it, Felix. I mean, see what happens. Okay, join us.
Yeah, I should try it once.
Okay, and okay, I'll even mention you in here, Felix. Oh, I'll mention it later. I'll fix it up a little bit later. Okay. Yep.
This is kind of why we have Felix. So you can
Otherwise, we would have been calling in Matthew. Matthew would have had to be the surprise stand.
All right, so we are live.
Yep.
All right, welcome everybody to Living with Duchenne. We are sorry, DJ is having some technical issues, but hopefully he'll be with us soon. And as soon as he is, we'll even let him in. So with us today, we have Lindy Phyllis, who's the one in charge at Family Friends of Duchenne. I'm Ryan Russell. We have Felix Wu, who's our guest co-host for now, maybe permanent co-host eventually. And then we have a special guest, Matthew Bush. See, so you guys, so I'm almost 40 at Duchenne. I have a PhD in psychology. I'm a life coach, and I like helping people. Felix, would you like to give us a quick introduction?
Yeah. So hi, I'm 24 years old with Duchenne, as well, and I'm also pursuing a PhD in psychology, and I'm hoping to do research investigating different disability issues in the workplace and seeing if there's ways to solve those issues. So that's my focus for my research.
Nice. So Matthew will be using eye gaze. Matthew, are you set up to be able to introduce yourself to us real quick? And I don't think we need an introduction to Lindy. She's pretty amazing. Okay. Today we're going to be talking about, just while Matthew's typing, the isolation we feel at DMD, or some of the social aspects of it that might be a little harder to talk about or aren't as fun. But that's our talk today, about making friends, a little bit of relationships, not so much romantic relationships, but any kind of information about relationships can apply to any other kind of relationship.
Yep.
Let's see. So, Felix, Matthew, I guess we're just going to go ahead and start while you talk, and we'll come back to you to your introduction, if that's okay. I mean, I know you can't. Okay, so Matthew is 31, has DMD, and is a game streamer. All right, Matthew, we're going to have to get connected because I also stream. Matthew, if you want, go ahead and put your Twitch user in there so we get you some follows. And actually talking about computer games and stuff, and being a streamer, I think that's going to be something that comes up. Oh, okay, you're a Facebook gamer. All right. All right, everybody. So I will be sure to follow you after the show today. So the first topic is, let's see. So I'm just going to ask Felix, Do you ever feel isolation or loneliness as a direct result of DMD?
Uh,
Oh, okay,
yeah.
I got you.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, not let Matthew not prepared to be a co-host. But yeah, okay.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
All right. So did you say what feeling isolation with DMD, right?
Yeah, like as a direct result of that, what kind of isolation or
Yeah.
loneliness do you ever feel?
Yeah, so I mean it's kind of hard and kind of progresses over time depending because as we know like our situation gets worse over time. So when we were younger it's easier to sort of like be like the others, but of course there's always something like we do have physical limitations. So I think like that's kind of where the isolation comes in, is when we're not able to do the same things as others can, and that can be hard, such as like playing sports with other people. That's how many kids bond together, and without that kind of same type of activities that we can do, it's kind of hard to do that. So it kind of requires some management of like what we're able to enjoy and do and sort of bond with others with. So I think that's kind of one of the main contributing factors. And also like any like when we get older and people are like, oh, let's go to the bar after work or something like that, it's much harder for us to actually figure that out. We have to plan ahead where it is, right? Is it accessible? Can we actually get into that building? So all of those different things is difficult to sort of spontaneously go and do things with others. So I think all of those types of things are some of the factors that kind of contribute to the isolation.
Yeah, I think everybody naturally has some hardships with the
Yeah.
loneliness and isolation. I think when you go through public schools, I've always kind of said it as okay, when you up to high school, pretty much you don't choose the friends you have. You're just kind of presented with the people you're around and you become friends. But after high school, it does
It's
become much harder.
yeah,
I kind of think, for somebody at DMD, for everything to keep friends and make friends, you got to work double, twice as hard as
sure,
anybody.
yeah, for sure.
School, you got to work twice as hard. Anybody with a disability or challenge, relationships, like romantic or whatever kind.
Yeah.
And I think, sometimes we're not prepared to do that.
Yeah, and I also find that a lot of it's like anytime you want to coordinate something, like let's say a game night or something, you're the one doing it when you're as an adult, like you're the one trying to organize it. It's kind of most of the time it's not the others necessarily I mean sometimes it's the case, but like a lot of the time if you really need, like if you want to form those friendships, it takes that extra effort to plan those things that also work for you as well. That's another key caveat to that point as
Yeah.
well.
I used to double date a lot because back then, my like late teens, early 20s, I didn't want a girl to have to drive me on a date. Not because I don't think girls can drive, but because I'm like, well, that's not the gentlemanly thing, and I
Mm-hmm.
can't open the door, so I'd have a friend take a date. That way he could open the door for everybody and he
Yeah, that's
drove.
smart. Mm-hmm.
But, then I got older, I was like, dang it, I should let girls drive. I could have done more. But
Mm-hmm.
I always ended up having to plan all the dates because, your friends, they don't want to accidentally exclude you and say, hey, let's go do this. And it's like, I can't do that.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm.
So that could contribute to it. Um, you just have to go out of your way to try to make friends. And if you're a natural introvert, that's going to be even harder.
Yeah,
And
and
sometimes,
that's me, the natural introvert.
okay, like I don't know what I am anymore. I but yeah, there could be an isolation feeling.
Yeah.
I didn't realize till recently I've been around somebody going to college. I thought I had a good college experience, a junior college, for
Mm-hmm.
the first 2 years. Okay, actually 3.5, but I had to figure out what I wanted to do. I spent time there. I did stuff. I thought I really participated. And I found out now there's so many things I missed that I didn't know
Mm.
about.
I agree with I had similar experience as well, I think, in college.
Yeah,
You just miss a lot as well.
yeah, I didn't know it. I made a lot of friends I still have today, but and then the loneliness. I've always said it's so weird when you can be lonely when you're surrounded by people.
Yeah. hmm
You know, I'd be at home when my parents were still living, and I'd feel lonely. It's like, why? Just,
hmm
it's just I stayed home and um so our it's a rough thing. Luckily we have video conferencing and things we can do is if somebody has DMD out there or anything, if you're feeling isolation or loneliness because we progress, we can't do what we used to do. There are so many organizations out there. I mean, we got Family Friends of Duchenne with Lindy. You've got so many others. I don't even want to name because I don't want to miss somebody that will help you. That have summer camps. That's one thing. After we're done, like put something in the comments, and we can help you find ways to be social or camps or. Um, so I think Felix, you kind of mentioned this earlier, talking about how it's hard to make friends, the barriers and whatnot. I think that is a barrier because, like, the biggest barrier is the planning,
Yes.
the spontaneity. College students, I didn't realize this. I thought they're so immature because, like, man, you guys got a
hmm
plan, but they don't have any ties. They can just do anything. Okay, I know, like Jet Foundation, they do a lot of summer camps. Um, I mean, that's what I know for sure.
And into
I think
MDA summer camps that
yeah,
happen annually as
now
well.
MDA summer camps, I think are only up to 18.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay, Jet Foundation does Camp Promise, and that's any age,
Oh,
even
okay, cool.
18 plus. So
hmm
those are good. There's all kinds of things coming up now. You got us right here. We're your friends. We're here for you. Can count on us every Thursday.
Yeah, and if you're interested in games or anything, there's the MDA gaming Discord as well. In case
Okay.
that's another place to meet people.
Yeah, because the MDA Let's Play is all about just for
Yep.
those muscular dystrophies. Precisely. There is going to be one coming out, another Twitch channel or two, but I know Lindy's working on some Twitch stuff that
Yep.
is more about inclusion in this group. But yeah, those MDA Let's Play and the Family Friends of Duchenne Gaming, that's all about the community and us and stuff.
And also, I encourage people that after you've sort of know your hobbies and what you're interested in, to be sort of brave and see broader communities with that specific interest and see if you can make friends that way, because you do share that interest, and that's something that if people like the same things as you, that's a good way to make friends as well. And I know sometimes it's kind of daunting to sort of join those groups, and um, also you don't know like who's all out there as well, but I think that's something that's helpful, to try to find other people that you've never met before, basically, or with a disability necessarily.
And also, you don't have to be just friends with people with disabilities.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'll be honest, until a couple of years ago, I didn't know a single other person with Duchenne. Or really, I hardly knew anybody with a disability because I'm in a small town 2 hours away from uh, another place. It's got people. So, just because we're in a wheelchair
Yep.
doesn't mean that we can't be just a regular Joe like everybody else. You might have to wait a little bit longer for them to see, oh, they're just a regular person. Um, any other barriers? Just I think we've pretty much covered all the barriers.
Yep.
Lindy, can anybody else or anybody at Facebook think of any barriers maybe we could talk about? I think one thing now, barriers to education. with online stuff, that's not really a thing anymore. Um, Zoom and working from home has become a thing. So that's getting better for us too. And just, look for new ways to find friends.
Okay, see, there's a question in the chat.
Okay.
It says, is it hard to tell if your friendship is valued by others if you're one typically organizing events? Yeah, I think from my perspective that can be tough, but sometimes it's just like sort of, yeah, it's difficult, but sometimes to sort of reframe it as this is still a way to make friends. Yes, it's more difficult for us, like many things are, but it's still an approach that works potentially. So I think it's like, yes, it is hard to tell if your friendship is valued by others, but I think it's more of thinking about it differently from my perspective. I don't know if you agree with that, Ryan, or if you have a
Yeah.
different perspective.
I think I do. Also, I found a link to the MDA Discord for
Oh
Lindy
yeah.
Freedom
Hmm.
somebody. So I was slightly distracted.
Oh, no
You
worries.
know, what's interesting, I had an interesting experience today. I was at Walmart with a caregiver, and I'm not trying to make friends with somebody, but the employee there, I asked, "Hey, where's the lamp?" Or I asked for something, and they heard me ask the question. They looked right over me and told my caregiver. And I'm
Right.
like,
Yes. Hmm.
but anyway, you just had to, I should have said, "Hey, I asked." It wasn't that big a deal. I was like, "Hey, I asked the question." And after I said, "Okay, where?" She's like, "Oh,"
Yeah.
I asked to follow up. She's like, "Oh, okay." So that's a big thing. People see us in a wheelchair, they automatically, it's just human nature to think, "Oh, that guy doesn't know." All right. Let me see.
Yeah.
I had opened a different window. Let me, um, so are there ways that, I don't know, Felix, what's your caregiving situation?
So I'm mostly with my parents right now. I don't really have another care like another caregiver at all
Yeah.
at this point.
Okay.
It just haven't been set up yet. So that's something I'm hoping to do in the next few years.
Right. I didn't have anybody besides my mom till I was like 29 or
Hmm.
eventually it needed to happen. But how could so our next topic is how can caregivers facilitate friendships?
Yeah.
So Felix, in your case, how can parents facilitate friendships?
Yeah, I think this was I was trying to think about this a little bit, but I think it just like whatever way would help increase interaction with others and having them bond over some activity that they like. And I think one thing that kind of helped me along the way, of course, like in public school, it's a little bit easier because you share classes with people. Those are the people you're gonna have shared experiences, maybe a bad teacher or a bad assignment, those types of things, and you can kind of bond over that. But I think what else helped me was like being involved in other extracurricular activities. That's also been helpful. And even if it's something that for you may not like at that particular time, you can also, that's sort of a way to also learn what your interests would be and what kinds of people you want to like sort of reach out to that share that interest. So I think it's like important to sort of try different things, know what you like, and then getting friends that through those avenues.
Okay. And maybe your parents might, like, it's a lot easier to have friend gatherings at your house. Maybe willing to do that.
Yeah.
My parents, man, they had to pick me up at midnight a lot of times when I went to different stuff at the school. One thing, I was a little embarrassed. We had 21 years old, getting picked up by my parents.
Yeah.
But I mean, then 30, whatever. Still getting picked up by parents or somebody. But one thing caregivers can do is not make that a big deal. parents, that's not a big deal. And us as the caregivee, somebody with DMD, we need to realize that parents and family, not everybody sees this as a burden. Some people are happy to help us and they want to help us. We just may need to be a little more open to who could help us or where we could go outside the box and stuff. The heck? Hold on. I lost where I was going. Somebody,
You're talking about how to facilitate friendships. Is that
yeah. What happened? Okay, I accidentally closed my thing that had our
oh, okay.
how caregivers could help. So caregivers can drop you off, be willing to pick you up, and I always with my caregivers, I try to work with them, and they're willing to work with me. So that's another thing. Our friends need to be willing to work with us. So these caregivers have to be willing to help us, and but you know what? Maybe they go with us too.
Yep.
If people are okay with that. Also, caregivers could encourage us to go do things that aren't easy to do. I've started trying to do things that I don't like to do, that are hard to do. Like I'm trying to force myself because just to help me make sure I don't get stuck in a loneliness or off by myself. That's something good for everybody. Go outside your comfort zone sometimes.
Yeah.
Don't do anything weird. But I just mean,
Yeah.
um,
Talk to a
but then
random person.
yeah,
That kind of thing.
I mean, I'm from a small town, so I talk to everybody, but if you're in the city, I know you don't, but you never know. Don't be afraid to talk to somebody. When that weird drunk guy comes up talking to you, maybe talk to him as long as you feel safe.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's just me that happens too, or that's happened to you guys too or not. But, all right, Felix, is it weird making friends with your caregiver or your mom around?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, sometimes it can be, but other times it's like if that's sort of they have to get like don't care about what they think if they can't accept the fact that your mom needs to be around or your caregiver needs to be around, then maybe that's not someone you want to be a friend with because they're not tolerant of what your needs are. Um, and I think like just knowing that is also important. Like people who like aren't aren't good to be your friend essentially. That's also important. Like at the same time as making the friend as well. So yeah, I don't know if that makes sense.
It does. And also, really, the only time you're making friends isn't just when your mom or your caregiver's around. I recently read a story. With the online stuff, your parents and caregiver don't always have to be around. Somebody in England had a seizure on, I guess they were playing, something online, and a friend in Texas, as a nurse, they recognized that they were having a seizure. And they got a hold of authorities. So, it's good to make friends. His mom had no idea what was going on. And this guy is a guy that doesn't have Duchenne or anything like, well, evidently, I guess he has seizures, but it's not something they were prepared for. So, parents, they don't have to necessarily be a part of it, but they can just be nearby.
Yeah, and it's easier with yeah, like you said before, Ryan, these technologies helping with like Zoom right now, what we're doing right now, facilitating those interactions. So try to take advantage of that as much as you can.
Yeah, I'm like, if I'm trying to make friends with somebody, they don't like my mom, there's no way we're going to be friends. Or you don't like my caregiver I brought with me,
Yeah.
well, tough, I'm leaving. So, yeah, it is a little bit different, easier with the caregiver, kind of less, mostly. I think we talked about in-person versus online friends
Oh yeah.
a little bit. One of the things we had to talk about were the pros and cons of that. I mean, first, let's. I've been asking you everything, Felix.
Okay.
I'll go first.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So let's see. What are some pros to in-person friends? Okay, in-person friends can actually help you. You know, they can get to know you. They can drive you. They help you. Like my friends help me with double dates, and that's really the only way I dated is because my friends were willing to drive me because I really didn't want my mom driving me on my date when I'm 20 something years old. You know, that's just a little bit weird. All right, mom, can I get some money for ice cream too? Um, so it's good to have friends for that reason. Friends can help you do stuff. Some of the cons maybe are, you know, if they come around, they get sick. Well, you get sick too, or they can't come around and help you. They, I'm finding that friends I had from high school kind of judge me still by what they knew back then. They like they expect me to be stronger than I am, maybe. For online friends, pros are you can meet somebody from anywhere in the world. Of course, there is that question: are they really a friend, or are they just a gamer that you know, or an acquaintance, or you know, I don't know. It's like Felix, you and I, we've been on here twice now. I've seen you in a few other things, but I don't really know that. You know, like you're a cool guy. I don't know if we're friends yet or not. If we were in person, it's like, yeah, I know we're friends, you know.
Yeah.
But don't worry, I know we're friends. It's okay.
Yeah, we're friends.
But you
For
know,
sure.
online it's just a little bit harder to tell.
Yeah.
And plus, there's that thing online, like, you know, are they catfishing me or? I had
Right.
somebody try to catfish me just the other day. They
Or
were a
trying to
trout.
scam you in other ways as well.
Yeah, yeah. So that is one thing about online friends, but you can make them. You know, can get them. Just I've made several online friends over the year that I have no idea how to get a hold of them, or I don't even remember their name anymore. So, what are your thoughts, Felix?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with pretty much all of what you said as well. I guess like yeah, just like in person, you can see those cues that are not necessarily verbal, to sort of get the sense of interacting. And yeah, like you said, it's just also a lot. It can be faster because um, potentially in person you're doing something together already, like you're in the same class, that kind of thing. Like that's already sort of a natural interaction already. And I guess also the cons is similar to what we were saying, like um, we're not necessarily able to do things with them at if spontaneously, and that can make it difficult. But if we were online, um, I wouldn't say it's like it's easier to be more spontaneous, because I mean it's less difficult to like just get on a Zoom call or click on a link and then you just play the game together, that kind of thing. That's usually easier that way. And yeah, for the online friends, you just, I guess the cons are you don't really necessarily know who they are, or um I mean, I guess like like I kind of said, I also make the case that technically in person, you also don't know who the person is either. It's just that there's this more natural interaction happening, but you also, to a certain extent, don't know about their personality necessarily, like when certain situations arise. So in that sense, there it's still kind of unknown relative to an online friend, but just like an online friend, you don't have a face necessarily associated with the name. I mean, you could have a face associated with the name, but um, sometimes it's not the case. Like if it's on Discord, for example, it's just typing essentially. So I think both has their concerns and also both have their advantages. I think try to have friends with in both settings is always going to be something that's helpful.
And one thing I just thought about for online friends, my friend has this friend that he knows in person. I've never met in person. I've talked to her on a few things. Never really close, but just recently, because of Twitch, she's been helping me more. We've been talking more, and there were so many things she just kind of assumed about me and my Duchenne, because maybe they've known one person with Duchenne. They think
Yeah.
that's the way everybody with Duchenne is. And it's been interesting how just after a few years, we finally started talking. And she's like, wait, you don't have that? Or wait, you don't do that? Oh, you just had all these things you just assumed. And she's like, well, I don't want to offend you. I'm like, tell you, that's another thing with we got to be open. Don't worry about people offending us. Like if they ask a question, be open to, answer it. That's going to help them. Be like, oh, you're normal. The next guy they see a DMB, they're like, oh, you're just a normal person.
Yeah, most people asking those questions do not necessarily have an ill intent. It's just they don't know better. So try like be open to those comments and don't be offended by them. I mean, I want to say that, but like sometimes there are comments that are extremely offensive. In that case, yeah, by all means, defend yourself. But I don't think in most cases that's the scenario.
Yeah, especially the older you get, the less that happens. There's still a few holdouts that never grow up. Well, I had another thought to say. I can't think of it, which is true whether it's an in-person or online friend.
Oh
You
yeah.
forget to say.
Yeah, I guess the other advantage of online friends is they don't necessarily know you have a disability unless you say so. So that initial first impression, that whatever the stigma they have for people with disabilities, they get to know you faster because they don't see you in the wheelchair. And then maybe you can say, by the way, I have a disability, and then like you guys already like interacted for a while now. So
Yeah, it's like they've
sometimes,
known it for a year or two. And like, wait, what?
yeah, but yeah, and then they're not going to say, "Oh, you're in." They can't be like, "Oh, I see you in a wheelchair. I'm not going to go hang out with you or whatever." But they get to actually know you before that, before those impressions kind of form. Those
Yeah, Felix,
stigmas.
they hear your voice, they probably think you're some like muscular Superman type guy,
Yeah,
Yeah. Me, they just think I'm a Willie Nelson impersonator. I'm from the country. Nothing wrong with being from the country.
yeah,
I kind of am. So those are some of the fun things and pros and cons. And I think really it's about the same for us as it is for anybody else.
yeah,
I just met a guy the other day. I've always heard his voice. I've known him for years. I'd hear his voice. I kind of pictured him in my mind,
yeah.
what he had looked like, and I saw him in person. It's nothing like
Yeah.
I pictured.
Yeah, I've had those experiences as well. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting when you have an online friend you've never seen and then you meet them. It's always an interesting experience.
Yeah, it's kind of. I think it's kind of a little bit scary too. If
Yeah,
it's like, oh, are they going to think I'm weird now, or like, no, I thought you were weird before I knew.
yeah.
Just me, Felix, not you.
And also, I
So,
think something that we like, what you kind of reminded me of, Ryan, is that a lot of people without disabilities have trouble making friends. It's not just people with disabilities that will have this difficulty. And I think just to keep that in mind, like friendships form and not form, not sometimes not necessarily because of your disability. It could just be your personality doesn't fit. Just don't be discouraged when a friendship doesn't form, because it just may mean that you're not compatible with that person. And I think anyone has experience with people that they're just not able to hit it off with. So I think just keep in mind that that's a normal thing to feel, and it happens, but don't let it discourage you.
oh, I'm glad you brought that up, Felix. That's a really good point. Um, but yeah, maybe you're going to find out that maybe it's a good thing you didn't make that friend.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a reason, or maybe it just wasn't the right time.
That too.
This kind of goes to romantic relationships because there's one person that like, I'm going to say I thought there was going to be some marriage involved, and that didn't work out. Now I'm like, dang, I'm glad that didn't happen. So just friendships can be like that too. And also, I think it depends on your generation.
Mhm.
My generation, we grew up with like non-computer stuff, and then we also grew up with computer stuff. So we're probably a little more comfortable. I was raised by older parents, so yeah, I'm more comfortable talking to people. And maybe your generation's not, so you just have to find maybe what's more comfortable with your generation or
Yep.
whatever age group the person is. I think an important thing to know is friendship doesn't need a certain age. You can make friendships with an 80-year-old. Like, go talk to an 80-year-old. There's a lot of that, like, they want to talk to somebody. They've got cool experiences. So that's my advice to every young person. You need to have at least one 80, maybe 90-year-old friend. Like, if all your friends are 80, that's kind of weird if you're 20. But at least have a few your own age. Because, even 80-year-olds, everybody has something to contribute to us. So how do we make friends at home most of the time? I think we've kind of covered that a little bit.
Yeah. And
I think,
actually, like during COVID, when everyone's been at home, it's actually been easier to interact with people. And I've also reached out to friends that I haven't in a while. And I think like that's the silver lining with all the situations here. But yeah, I guess like in a way, sometimes it's easier, but I can see it like after COVID, if people are no longer really around online that much, it can be different and more difficult. But that's kind of my additional 2 cents there.
well, really, I kind of thought about COVID that, well, hey, now the rest of the world gets to know how we feel.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
And
don't,
some people like it actually. Well, like right now we have something called the Great Resignation going on. A lot of people are leaving their jobs. Why? Because they're used to this at home setting and like or there's things wrong with the job that we haven't saw before because we're too busy like being in person, right? And all of these things like that could be I don't know. I don't know post pandemic there might be something different than what we've seen before the pandemic.
oh, totally. I have a friend right now that's like, he's a middle level executive at a company, and he's been losing people because they worked from home. Everything went great. He's like,
Yeah.
now they wanted to go to work, and everyone's like, there's no reason to go to work. And now even he's looking for a job that's all remote. I
Yeah,
think a lot of these
exactly.
companies have these big buildings. It's like, well, what do we do with these things? Got to use them. But yeah, the world has definitely changed.
Yep.
The world's always in a state of change. We just normally don't see it happen in 1 or 2 years. I mean, pretty
Yeah.
drastic.
Yeah, they can happen really quick.
Yeah, except for maybe when a giant meteor hit the earth and wiped out dinosaurs or something. That might be a
Yeah.
little more drastic.
Maybe not in the right direction
Yeah,
at all.
yeah, we don't want that kind of change. And I think just one thing too is trying to find ways to socialize. One thing that helps me is church. I go to church. I have friends because of church. Not everybody has to go to church, but try to find some kind of organization or something
Yeah.
that you can be a part of. Uh, you know, going like the library could be out.
Hmm.
Just something. Just look around your community, see what's there. Hang out at the library with all the cool people. That's where I hung out in high school. We played chess.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I've been sort of from my personal experience, there are two things I kind of play right now is Pokemon Go and Magic the Gathering, which is a card game. And I found joining those discords are pretty fun to like play those games with people, even if you don't know who they are. But it's always interesting what kind of people you meet through that.
Now, one warning about Magic the Gathering. it can get expensive. So,
Yes.
I think we need to put that wording out there. It
Yeah,
could
I'm
be,
not saying you have to do the same thing I'm doing. You just
yeah, I'm just saying, there is just a warning,
yeah.
Somebody's like, dang it, I joined Magic the Gathering and started playing because of Felix. Now I'm $2,000 in debt. Thanks a lot.
I mean, I can if you're interested in that, I know of ways to make it not expensive.
Oh, there we go.
If you yeah, you just gotta play with the right people, basically.
Yeah, I had a nephew. I was trying to. Yeah, Matthew agrees that this is hard to make friends. But yeah, I have some people Oh, all right,
Yeah,
Matthew.
it's, you know.
Good to see you. Thank you. Does exist. So, Felix, do you ever have any friends with Duchenne?
Uh, yeah, I mean, a lot of the people I know with Duchenne around my community in Houston are usually younger than me, so it's a little bit different. Of course, like you said, there's the age difference doesn't really matter. Um, but yeah, I mean, I do have friends with Duchenne, and also the broader neuromuscular disease community. So I think yeah, a lot of what Lindy's doing, MDA, PPMD are all very useful things to sort of make friends with Duchenne as well. And I think yeah, I think I also see the value as well in terms of yes, I think it's important to have those shared experiences and know how to deal with situations, right? There's a lot of different things you may face, and I think it's important to talk about those things and how people have like handled it, basically.
It really, that's okay. Matthew, once you get old, you kind of start forgetting your age. Sometimes it happens to me. I think I'm 21 sometimes, because I feel that way sometimes. One thing, Felix, is it has gotten a lot better for those some of us in Duchenne. So a lot of us
Yeah,
older guys like me, we kind of sort of missed out on a lot of stuff. So we're kind of trying to catch up. For me, I've recently made friends with Duchenne, and it's been a great experience. For one, it's great to know that I'm not the only old one
yeah,
out there. There's a lot more of us than I thought there were, and just things like this were helping with that.
yeah,
Let me get.
yeah. I mean, we're all like sort of negotiating our paths for like even just being a PhD program. They hardly see people with disabilities, so it's kind of like negotiating with the people and finding out what makes sense for you. And I think it's important to have that advice, like in any path that you might take. You might be the first one taking that path. So I think it's important to sort of um, sharing our experiences there as well, because all of our paths are going to be different, and knowing what's going on and how to handle it is always important.
Felix, is your program completely online?
No, so I'm typically in person, but because of COVID, I stayed at home pretty much this past 2 years. But they've been pretty reasonable about allowing me to do that. Um, and they've been really helpful in facilitating that part of class. So I think like, yeah, so that's something I had to just ask. Sometimes it's just about asking and seeing what, I mean, the worst they say is no, but then you can think about what to do next after that.
Yeah, and if you don't ask and they haven't thought about it, they're not going to think about it still.
Yeah.
So it's better to just ask or say, "Hey, I need this accommodation." Like I think every time we have the show and tell a story about my junior college that I went to in person, the only college I went to in person. They built this new building. I was so
Yeah.
excited. But the day before, they could hit the buttons, and be like, "Hey guys, it's ADA compliant." It's like it
Yeah,
might be ADA
exactly.
compliant, but it's not Ryan Russell compliant.
It's not ADA usable, I
Yeah,
guess
it's
is
like
another way of saying it.
yeah, you guys, but it's up to code, but somebody wasn't thinking when they put that in.
Right.
And so, see, that's the thing. They're accommodating. They are doing things to code, but unless you've got a family member or know somebody, you're going to think this button here at the very max height is going to be great. You
Yeah,
know,
I think there's a similar kind of thing that happened in my university as well. It wasn't to that extent, but they didn't have like a button that you can press to get the door open, right? And it was a new building, so people were like, you have these all in older buildings, why you never thought about it when you're designing this newer one? It's not like it was grandfather, like the laws, like it's not grandfathered in that it's a building older than 1990. Like you should, those are the type of things you need to consider or at least consult with people with disabilities. And I don't know, just sometimes that's not done.
yeah, now that's weird. They build something without that nowadays. That's, but they always figure, oh, well, you can have somebody open the door for you. And it's like, do you want to have somebody have to wait for somebody to open the door for you?
Yeah, Matthew agrees as well. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely important.
asking for accommodations is important. I didn't do that in high school. I should have.
Yeah, it's always helpful to know about those things. And actually to tie this into friends, like you can even just ask like people like, hey, you want to hang out? Like suggest somewhere that you think would be helpful for you. Like that doesn't it doesn't hurt to ask that either. Like people might be more open to different options than it seems because they just didn't think of those options. And you know what options work for you. So sometimes that's important. Just ask, hey, you want to hang out in this way? Do you want to play this game or whatever? Whatever it is. Don't be afraid to suggest it.
Yeah, we don't want people to assume stuff about us, so we shouldn't assume things about other
Yeah.
people. Yeah, I had this weird thing that I was trying to act like I didn't have a disability.
Hmm.
Like I'm like, then later I'm like, wait a minute, how you can't fool anybody? You're in a wheelchair, silly.
Yeah,
Um,
I know what you mean.
let's see. So we're getting towards the end. Thank you to those that have held on this long. We're almost there though. If you're watching the recording, just pause a little bit, but it's still going to be good. It's always good. We got Felix on here. So do you have any tips for adolescents, Felix?
Hmm. Yeah, I think it just yeah, I think like a lot of what we've already covered, sort of have that embedded in, but generally I think, yeah, just don't be it's I mean this I think it's easier said than done. Don't be discouraged. I know that can be difficult at times, but I think it's just good to be aware that you're not the only one who's facing trouble making friends. Even if they don't have a disability, other people also struggle with making friends. So I think that's important to sort of frame your experience in that this is a normal thing that everyone experiences. Yes, we have more difficulties than others, but it's about like trying to know that this like normalize that making friends, like the challenge of making friends.
Yeah, what's sad that happens to all of us as kids, or as adolescents, whatever age we are, even, is we can think, oh man, nobody wants to be my friend. When there's somebody over there that's, you know, they're able, they can walk, run, whatever. They're actually over here thinking, man, I'd like to be Ryan's friend or Felix's friend, but
Right.
I was kind of afraid to approach them. I don't know how to. And there are people like that. I found out, like this friend, we were an acquaintance in high school, and she came at just a certain time. Years later, we met. She's married, has 8 kids, but we really became really good friends. And I found out that she actually liked me, had a crush on me in high school, and I kind of had a crush on her. And it's like she said, "Well, if you'd have said something," I'm like, "Well, dang it, I didn't think anybody would have a crush on me."
Missed
But
opportunity. Mhm.
yeah, so don't think that people don't want to be your friend. And also, For me, sometimes when we go to a wheelchair, changes happen, we can get very upset, get angry or depressed, and think that nobody wants to be our friend, or just
Yeah.
when you feel that way, don't lash out at people. Because we don't want to become the bully ourselves. Just know that everybody's got problems. We're not the only ones. And people care about you. And people your own age. They just maybe don't know. If somebody asks questions, don't be afraid to answer the questions. There are some questions you don't need to answer, are personal, but because I find all the time that little children will ask me questions, and their parents like, no, you can't ask that. Like, it's okay, it's okay. And then their parents like, oh, you're a cool guy. Some tips from parents of younger kids. Can I take this one real first, Felix?
Do we want to read Matthew's comment? real
Oh,
quick?
I'm sorry. Good thing we got Felix here. Okay, so Matthew, you want to read Matthew's comment, Felix?
Sure. Matthew says, I would tell them that it's okay to be frustrated. It's okay to be disappointed, but you should always move on and keep going no matter what. I agree with
Yeah.
that as well.
Yeah, if they don't want to be your friend, it's their loss.
Exactly.
It's like,
Also, another thing I would say is like what Ryan kind of mentioned is everyone also have their own challenges, and I think it's important to also lend a listening ear to others who have challenges. You'll be surprised that there are people who want to talk to someone about those things, and like they want to tell you because you also have your own challenges too. So I think like sometimes that makes it easier to sort of lean on each other and give a listening ear to other people's problems as well.
and one thing also I want to say that applies to everyone, and whoever's watching it, this applies to you. Just this is for you, okay? Remember, nobody is out of anybody else's league, and this is not just think, oh, I'm not popular enough to be friends with that person, or
Yeah.
for me in high school is, man, I have a chance at that girl. Actually, so this other there was another one that found out later. Dang it, I could have had a chance with her. But so don't ever think anybody's out of your league or that anybody's better than us. None of us. We all might think we're cool, but in reality, none of us are cool.
Yeah.
Um, so anybody, okay. The tips for parents of younger kids. I'm not a parent. I've been an uncle my whole life though. Actually, I've been an uncle for minus 4 years of my life because I was an uncle 4 years before I was born. Um, and also, some psychology. Um, I know as parents that there's a fear that you don't want to tell us about. That there's a fear of what's going to happen to your kids. There's the disappointment. There's the unknown, and a parent's reaction and desire is to protect their child from heartaches and disappointments. And one thing, this is going to be hard, and I know it was hard for my parents, but you've got to let your child fail sometimes. You've got to let them experience somebody not being a good friend, and by not being overprotective. I know it's hard to do. It's not just person kids with DMD, it's everybody. But just be there, be a supportive person, listen to them. Be an open source where, because you want your child to come to you and say, I've got this going on and this going on. Some kid at school is messing with me. Rather than go down immediately and talk to the school and talk to whoever, maybe try to find ways of helping your child cope with it themselves and learn to deal with it. Then, of course, if that doesn't work, you go to talk to somebody about it. So I think that's my main tip is just try to treat your child like they're any other child. They just happen to have muscular dystrophy. Do you have any thoughts, Felix?
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Yeah, I think having the sense on like I mean, even if you have experiences, sometimes you don't know, but I think like having those experiences, something in psychology that we often talk about is something called self-efficacy, and having these experiences to know, sort of building up the confidence that you can handle these things on your own. Having those experiences is going to be very empowering, and is also something that can help them navigate through whatever. I mean, yeah, I always want to add a caveat, but like navigating through whatever, but also at the same time, there's still going to be difficulties and challenges that may be difficult to navigate around, and that's when we need. I guess that's when we need parents to step in, and whatever action that needs to be taken is when those things are hard to overcome.
Felix, have you talked about positive psychology or looked into that?
Yeah, I've dabbled a little bit. I kind of
Okay.
I know what it is, but
All
yeah.
right. I love positive psychology. And one thing about positive psychology is it focuses on our strengths
Yeah.
and the good things. And like the old models of psychology were kind of like a person is what they are, they can't really change. Positive psychology says you can change. And whatever stage your child's at, you can change. We're all born at different levels of optimism or pessimism,
Yeah.
but anybody can learn to become optimistic. And just a quick, if you go, if you're worried about your child being an optimist or, you know, about it, go look up a book by Martin Seligman.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he go on Amazon, look at Martin Seligman. If it's, I recommend it, like the positive child, building optimism, and that's the biggest thing. Hey, we all need it.
Yeah, combating the learned helplessness. I think that's what I've learned from that.
Yeah,
Finding ways to know you can actually do something about it. It's not just things happening to you. You're not a passive like object. You are a human. You can react to things. So it's not things that are happening to you. You want to try to find ways to um cope with it as well. You're yeah. I don't know if that does that make sense or
yeah, and to build optimism, start with small things. Don't try to do a big, huge thing. Just try
yeah.
to do one small thing. As slowly as your child is successful with that, they get, it's like, oh, I can do this. I can do this. And they can go on. So we have a question. How do you help your kids navigate not keeping up with friends? I think this is something we both experienced, I'm sure.
Yep.
Felix and Matt, anybody at DMD has experienced it. I remember that when in school, kids, so there's one grade, kids would chase me and I had no idea why. And I thought, oh, I'm just as fast as they are. Well, I wasn't. And they chased me because they thought I read funny, which is, and incidentally, this is the 80s, okay? I went down the slide one day and this group of boys were all down at the bottom just trying to mess with me. I punched one of them and I got like 3 or 4 friends out of that. But that doesn't work. That was the 80s, okay? Um, but finally, somebody it dawned on me that wow, I can't keep up with kids anymore. I can't do this anymore. It does get difficult. For me, when I started college, I was at first I was ahead of everybody I went to high school with. And somewhere there they all passed me. It's like, man, I'm stuck in a rut. So that is a challenge. It's something for all of us.
Yeah.
Um, and I think we just have to recognize where, you know what, it's all about us. We're not the only person we need to keep up with is ourself. And I know that's hard to tell a teenager that, um, I know that's hard. Um, Felix, do you have anything? I'm getting too many ums here.
No, I mean, although you're saying that's from the 80s, like as growing up too, have faced similar types of bullying, and that, I mean, that happens. And yeah, some of those people, I guess, are my friends at this point, but there's also a bunch that are not. But yeah, I think like where was it going with that? Uh, so yeah, in terms of keeping up, so I guess I don't know if this is tangentially related or not, but one thing that my mom sort of trained me as a young kid is to sort of like climb out of the dark hole in terms of whenever things bring you down. And I think that's difficult sometimes when your friends are surpassing you in everything essentially. And I think that's always something that um, I tried to do basically um, since I was young.
And it's something that not only those of us with Duchenne, it's anybody with a disability, anybody. I don't think there's anybody in this world that doesn't have some sort of disability or something you could call a challenge of some sort. So if anything, we're just ahead of the curve dealing with challenges. It's maybe easier to identify ours.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like you can also be of help for others who have challenges too, who also think that they're falling behind as well. And we're not the only ones, basically.
yeah, and another thing to know is I always like to tell people, your brain is actually very dumb. Our brains are not smart. There's a lot of research out there, like they don't know where thought comes from.
Yeah.
It's not exactly your brain. Your brain has different parts. Um, so our brain is maybe telling us, well, this is normal. This is what it needs to be. Well, no, there's not a normal. You don't need to be that. Um, but now the front part of your brain is what helps you reason, the frontal cortex, and that's something that is always developing till I hate to say it, Felix. They say it till like we're 25 or so your frontal cortex may
Yeah.
not be completely developed. You're getting there though. Trust me, you're getting there. But that is, they call it the reptile brain. That's the one that makes us just react. And you just have to like learn, like, oh, you just have to like force your brain to say, hey, brain, I'm in charge here, not you.
Yes.
Tell your brain, shut up, brain.
Yep.
Just don't, it's hard to learn when to do it and when not to, though.
Yeah, it's some random other thing about in the broad sense of not keeping up is for some reason when kids get into middle school and then to high school, they compete on the number of hours that they don't like. I only slept 1 hour yesterday, last night, or whatever. And I've always have felt that peer pressure sometimes, but generally, I think for me, what was helpful, like even though they said like that's what they need to do well, I found that like sleeping early was good for me. Sleeping 8 hours at least a day was always good. And I found like some of that was just BS, basically. Like you do even better when you sleep more. So that's another type of temptation that might happen. Um, sleep, I think sleep's very important for
Yeah.
our condition and to keep up the energy. So I think like those types of things are going to happen. People are going to peer pressure you to do things that are not going to be good for you necessarily, and to watch out for that as well. Like that doesn't mean you're not keeping up with people. You are doing what you need to do, and actually they're not doing the right thing. So sometimes you got to know like what what's society considered as normal
Mhm.
may not be healthy, or is it a good idea? So keep that in mind too.
And another thing is it's just like social media. Usually people show the good pictures. Somebody takes
Yeah.
pictures of bad stuff.
Exactly.
They talk about the really good stuff that happens in their life. And you just got to remember, they're not telling you the bad stuff. You don't know anybody else's bad stuff as well as you know your bad stuff. And also, most people, without meaning to exaggerate, for a lot of those kids saying, I got 1 hour sleep, they probably got more than 1 hour sleep. They're just lying to you. They're just trying to sound cool. But yeah, definitely, especially with DMD,
Yeah.
you do need your sleep. This might be a topic for another time. I
Yeah.
had this caregiver that was like 2 hours late all the time. They're like, okay, I want to go to bed at 11. They're here at 1, so I'm getting in bed at 2 o'clock. And one time that's okay, but man, it started going for like weeks at a time, and I just couldn't function at all.
Yeah.
So yeah, you got to make sure to get that sleep.
And actually, everyone needs their sleep, so don't feel like it just our thing too.
Now, one thing, so Matthew, that's good. Not everybody needs 8 hours. Good to get 7 hours. Especially the older you get with DMD, don't anticipate getting a perfect 8 hours sleep.
Yeah.
You're going to wake up at least once, probably. And somebody turned. Unless somebody knows a better way, let me know. But I wake up at least once a night to get turned, and um, you know, also I don't burn very much energy, so that gets hard too. You don't burn a lot of energy, you don't need as much sleep. So these are just things to keep in mind as you age, but get whatever sleep your body says you need. Unless your body says you need 16 hours, and I'd say go see a sleep doctor.
Yeah.
I think, are there any more questions or comments? We could just kind of wait the next 5 minutes for any questions or comments that might come up.
Yeah, anything at all.
Don't worry, you don't have, this doesn't have to be your last one of these because DJ will be back next week. We all know you're only here to see DJ. You know what? We're okay with that. We're okay that we can't keep up with DJ. It's
Yeah.
all right. DJ is awesome. Lindy, do you have any other questions for us, or Matthew, or also I sometimes I have a hard time going to sleep because I let my brain be too active before I go to bed.
Yeah, limiting the caffeine.
Oh, dude. Okay, tonight I'm staying up till 2 a.m. so I can watch the Obi-Wan Kenobi show. Because they got 2 episodes coming out tonight.
Oh,
And
nice.
yeah, so I usually don't stay up, but hey, I got a caregiver now that actually comes when I say, so I don't have to worry about saying, okay, come at 2 a.m. She's not gonna be here at 4, she's gonna be here at 2 a.m. So I go to bed right after, but yeah, I'm staying up.
Do you know what it's spanning? Is it like when he's born all the way to whatever, or?
So this is after order 66. So they're
Oh,
in
okay.
height, and he like they're tracking the Jedi, and he sees Luke and see all that stuff. How gaming can really be good for a community building friendships. Okay, gaming is good. I'd say as with everything, don't do it too much. Um, you know, try to have some real friends, but you can have great gaming friends. Like MMOs, World of Warcraft,
Yep.
EverQuest, those things. EverQuest, I just let you guys know how old I am. You can make great friendships, you join a guild or whatever you want to call it. Different games call it different things. There's your group that you do stuff with. You can be at whatever class. So yeah, so gaming can be good for community and building friendships.
Yeah, I think.
Um,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no, go ahead. Go ahead.
So I think just to add to that, one rabbit hole I would suggest not going down is getting really competitive because that kind of like play the game for the process, not the outcome. I think that's important to realize. I've realized that growing up, being doing the competitiveness in the game can hurt that a little bit. So I think making sure to enjoy it, not enjoying the outcome. I think that's important.
Yeah, because as you progress, it's going to get harder and harder to play
Yeah.
games. I can't hold a video game controller anymore, so I only play PC. I don't play consoles. And okay, also I have a friend that's my same age, and he's he's getting he's doesn't have muscular dystrophy or any kind of physical disability that I know of. And he's getting slower in reflexes.
Yeah.
It's like we can't all be an Olympic athlete. We can't all be a great, amazing gamer, but just play to have fun. So that is good. And there's always going to be somebody better.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you can get paid to play and like win a tournament, maybe put some into it. But
Matthew says he plays sports games, so it's competitive. But I agree, don't get too competitive.
yeah, because man, there's since we're talking games, some salty people out there.
Oh yeah,
Don't want to get too sweaty in those games. So anyway,
yeah. Try to. There will be those people who are overly competitive. Just ignore them. Is my comment there. Just don't take whatever they say personally. They have other problems going on that's making them like that. It's not your problem.
and remember, if they make funny, like you lose, and they be like, uh, man, like say it's a football game or American football or football, whichever. It's like, man, you can't run. You guys are terrible. Said, well, I don't have much practice out of them, right? It's been a
Yeah.
while. They're
Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, it's good for your hands.
Yep.
That is one thing definitely to say is, um, parents out there, if you don't want your kids like gaming at all, consider, maybe you have like some control over what games they play. Like, they don't have to play Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah.
Grand Theft Auto, especially online, that's the whole thing.
I found
Uh,
Wii Sports to be sort of a good compromise. Like it just to control. I mean, you may not be very good at it, but it's okay because you need to be in a certain position. They don't have people like us in mind when designing that. But
yeah, and we're getting more and more things for gaming all the time. There's
yeah,
like Xbox 360 adaptive controller. I don't know, it's just the Xbox adaptive controller. That's ways to help. There, Microsoft's coming out with a new mouse
yeah.
that's going to make it where you can put the buttons anywhere you want.
And I
So
also have interned with a rehabilitation clinic once, and they have like this whole shelf of various things to help you play games with. So there are options out there. And I think that will be helpful in terms of playing games. Or really anything else too.
yeah, and so let's see. I'm going to go do another shout out for Matthew's Gaming. Okay, so Matthew Games on Facebook is KGW Matthias. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to pronounce that a fancy way. I am going to go follow you on Facebook. I actually stream as myself on Twitch as Ryan J. Russell. Um, go reach out to us, watch us, and maybe we can help you figure out how to adapt. I'm going to be doing something else stream related soon. But yeah, there's gaming is good for your hands.
Oh, Matthew says they will eventually come out with things so you can play with your thoughts. Yeah, that'll be cool.
I'm a little worried about that myself. Like
Yeah.
it's so I think I used to think it'd be cool if I could drive a car by my thoughts. But then I'm like, ooh, squirrel,
Yeah.
oops. Yeah, that will be cool. don't know what the game will be. But I like to play the game of life with my thoughts.
Maybe virtual reality. I don't know.
Yeah, virtual reality is kind of harder for us, but I think it's going to get more. Anyway, you got more stuff happening. The big thing is we like to talk a lot, maybe too much. Maybe you guys are ready for us to be done. But I think this is enjoyable. There are challenges to everything in life. There's going to be struggles, but there's a way to get through it. There's people out there that, like us, that have gone through it that you can reach out to. I mean, if you ever have questions for me, go through Lindy, or you can email me,
same.
right, at Life on Positivity, and I'll answer your questions.
Same for me as well. Yeah, you can use my email, which is felixwu.2005@gmail.com,
Okay.
or through Facebook. I'm on there too.
Oh yeah, I'm on. You can find us on there, or Lindy, or family president Duchenne can get us in touch.
Yep.
So AGWA stands for Crippled Gamers with Attitude. That's another thing. Make sure people know you're in a wheelchair before you put cripple in your name or something. It's like, you can't say that. It's like, well, I can't. But it's just big thing is try to keep smiling. If you don't feel like smiling, that's okay. But just try. Tomorrow's going to be a better day. We'll see what happens. That's one thing I've learned is, as long as you keep moving forward, any obstacle or problem today, you keep moving forward, and it's not going to seem like a problem, like eventually, or you'll find some other interest.
Yep.
Felix, anything else? Anybody?
I think we've talked about all we can talk about with this topic. Well,
I think
actually, I guess there's always more, but in terms of specifics. But
well, come back next week at we do this at 7 Eastern, 6 Central, 5 Mountain Standard, 4 Pacific, which is probably like 12 midnight UK time. Anyway, find us at your time zone. We'll be here. So
or watch the recording if you're not able to.
yeah, watch that at a better time. Nice meeting you too,
Yeah,
Matthew.
nice to meet you, Matthew.
Be there. It's nice making another friend of Duchenne.
Yep.
All right. Until next time, have a good one.
All right.